get into my opening statement. My opponent today told Jim Bob there's nothing wrong with having sex with a cadaver. Usually that would be enough for me to just kind of laugh and walk away because no one will ever take you seriously again. But in this case, I feel the rest of his pro-feminist stances need to be eliminated. My opponent also refuses to define what a woman is, so I don't know how he can bother advocating for their specific rights or issues if he can't even determine what one is. Interestingly, my opponent believes there are no specific duties for men, at least according to his debate with Jim Bob, so I thought I would take a moment to... I'm sorry, hang on. I'm doing this from my cell phone, so give me a little grace. Interestingly, my opponent believes there are no specific duties for men, at least according to his debate with Jim Bob. So I thought I would take a moment to point out the societal and social expectations and duties which men have. Now, you may not believe they should have them, but they do have them under the current expectations which feminists have put in place. First, the draft. Second, any say over abortion, which the left demands they have no say in. The ability to deny association with women in the occupation for the purposes of safety. The ability to defend yourself physically against a woman. The social demand of sacrifice for chivalry to strangers who are women and children. The expectation they can't tell women what a real woman is, but a woman can descriptively attack what a real man is or isn't. Men have a bias against them in domestic violence issues. Men are expected to approach women for the purposes of dating and marriage, but are often called creepy and told they are making a woman uncomfortable by doing so. Men can't discuss issues they have with women in a collective way, or they're called misogynists and told they want to hurt women. Expectation to provide financial support during a divorce without the expectation of child custody. Expectation of having courage in dangerous jobs for the purpose of society where women are not. Expectations that male-only spaces like the Boy Scouts and clergy and other groups be opened up to women, while women, especially feminists going into all female spaces, are completely celebrated. The inability to bring charges of SA or battery against women for the same types of things. Women can claim battery and assault and be believed, and it's insisted that they're believed, just to name a few. Men are expected to be stoic, while at the same time more emotionally available and empathetic. Men are sent to schools governed by female teachers, which have rules which are tailored to the behavior of the feminine in girls and not the masculine in boys, and are oftentimes drugged to keep their masculinity under control. To celebrate male increases in powerful jobs is bigotry and oppression, but in females it's celebrated as glass ceiling breaking. Also, feminist things that we'll see often in society now, which have taken heel from the left, is men need to stop coming in women, not women need to stop opening their legs. There's almost no mutual assurance here when it comes to promiscuity in women. Most importantly, men are always the solution to any problem, even if they are the problem or aren't the problem. Men need to fix the porn problem because they watch it, even if women are the ones making it. Men need to get other men in line. Men need to be more XYZ. Men need to stop the simping, not women need to stop enabling simps by simp fishing. Women always appeal to men's behavior as the problems which need to be fixed, ducking all accountability thanks largely in part to the leftist males who want to fuck them. Next, let's examine some actual blatant stupidity, which will be the first thing I destroy my opponent on. My opponent claims that women's fear of men is justified, and their bias around a collective experience is what justifies it. Well, the obvious contradiction here, of course, is that I seriously doubt he would say bias against black people or fear would be justified based on white people's collective experience. Watching him try to reconcile that is not only going to be amusing for me, but it's where I'm going to begin my line of inquiry. When Jim Bob asked about the bear question based around race, he twisted himself into a pretzel to attempt to justify that the collective experience of one group was valid, but the other was not. What's so amazingly hilarious about this is it shows you just how weak the leftist position really is on this front. They selectively show that they back up the idea of group bias worse than the right does by acknowledging that group experiences are justified unless those experiences don't fit in with their version of political action. They are unjustified then. This is such a blatant contradiction, it's staggering, and also it shows the primary weakness with intersectional feminist worldviews like my opponents. What happens if we do intersectionality only to find out minority classes oppress or show hatred towards the majority class, thus justifying the hatred of the majority towards the minority? Well, in my opponent's worldview, this is simply not a possibility. He's willing to entertain and this is because it destroys the entire narrative of the oppressor-oppressed dynamic from which all of his views reduce to a silly harm reductionist principle. Unless, of course, it comes to the collective power of women. Then one man can easily oppress 20 women, and the minority can oppress the majority, but somehow this is impossible with racial groups or other dynamics. Further, let me just finish. I'm almost done, and I'll give my opponent a little extra time if needed for his opening. I'm sorry, real quick, just finding my place. He believes people have a duty to pay taxes, but can't tell us why there would be that social duty, but not a social duty of reproduction, which is by far the most beneficial aspect of the health of the society, especially its elderly. He claims women have no duty to have children, which means he sees no duty to keep the human race alive, which aligns with his harm reductionist mindset as the ultimate harm reduction, in which there would be no human beings, thus no harm could ever happen to any of them. He believes democracy is the finest form of government, ignoring the glaring weakness that we can democratically vote for no democracy. He has typical left world stupid views. The progressive mind is totally tainted by ignoring objective reality for the ideas of untenable systems and senseless ideology. On the core of feminism, he's just as bad, refusing to denote that if he were actually a harm reductionist, the best way to reduce harm would be to strongly encourage traditional gender roles, because men, who are the most fit sex for the workforce and jobs which aim to protect society, would obviously do the most amount of good in those capacities, and women in the nurturing capacities, leading to better general outcomes for society. Now, the truth is that he wants there to be a genderless, equitable society which does equal promotion of all lifestyles and worldviews, even if it is detrimental to the very society in which we live in, which, by the way, just isn't an anti-harm reductionist principle, even though he claims he's an anti-harm reductionist. It's also stupid, and it ignores the nature of people altogether for the purpose of ideology. He claims he's against the draft, but is for compelled taxation, which makes no sense. Both would be duties to protect and run the society one is in. He's basically a walking contradiction. All of his views are contradictory, and with that, I'll yield my time.
Since Andrew went a little bit over, Oliver, you're welcome to have additional time for your open if you'd like. Go ahead.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, thank you, Andrew, for that opening statement. Thank you, Brian, for having me back. It's good to be here. So the resolution that we're debating, I guess we've kind of agreed on, is whether feminism is good or bad for society. I will be taking the affirmative claim that it is good for society. So, two things that are important when we're having a conversation about feminism and good is to kind of define both of those terms. So the way that I'm going to be defining feminism is, and this is not an exhaustive definition, and there might be some development on this, is the belief that individuals should have equal rights, freedoms, and opportunities regardless of gender, and that barriers based solely on gender should be dismantled. The way that I'm defining good will be kind of a constellation of good. So it's going to be kind of a lot of things that feminism benefits or that feminism leads to, and a lot of these things I'm going to presuppose are good because I think a lot of the audience will be sympathetic to these being good. These include things like stronger families. This includes things like healthier families. This includes things like reproductive autonomy. This includes things such as greater economic output. I have stuff to back up all of this, the idea of stronger families in shared responsibilities and shared parenting, healthier families in reproductive autonomy, and parental leave and workplace protection. So something like parental leave is associated with reductions in infant mortality. It improves maternal health and long-term child well-being. Reproductive autonomy is linked to healthier pregnancies, lower rates of maternal depression, better childhood nutrition or better child nutrition, and immunization rates. And Medicaid expansion was something that was pioneered by feminists, which led to maternal coverage of things such as childbirth. And it narrowed disparities in health outcomes and birth outcomes and improved access to prenatal services. We can move on to some of the economic benefits. So, for example, dual income households, where there are two individuals who are working, are significantly more protected against poverty and food insecurity during economic downturns. Feminism advocates education as well, high-quality childhood education programs. For example, for every $1 invested in these high-quality childhood education programs, we get $16 in return. This was given by Nobel Prize-winning economist James Heckman. And the benefits to children of working moms from the Harvard Business School show that daughters of working mothers earn 23% more than daughters of stay-at-home moms, and their sons also spend 7.5 hours more per week caring for the children that they end up having. So just in general, I'm going to be affirming that. I'm going to be arguing that feminism is a good for society based on these constellation of goods. I'm not necessarily defending a worldview here today. I'm merely defending that these things are good and feminism contributes to these things that are good. So these statements are ultimately conditional statements. So if you care about greater economic output, if you care about a decreasing infant mortality, then you should care about feminism and support feminism as a good for society. So that is all I have for the opening statement.
All right.
We open?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we start? Let's back up real quick.
Sure.
With your, I just want to write it down word for word. What's your definition for feminism?
Yeah, sure. I got it for you. So the belief that individuals should have equal rights, freedoms, and opportunities regardless of gender.
Hang on.
Okay.
Belief.
Sorry.
Individuals should have.
Yes. Equal rights, freedoms, and opportunities.
Would you guys like to define any other terms here at the start, or?
Yeah, hang on. There's a
Sure.
few that I want to do. Should have equal rights and what?
Freedoms and opportunities.
Freedoms and opportunities.
Yes. Regardless of gender.
Well, that would be regardless. Well, I guess.
Sex and gender.
Sex, right?
Yeah,
Regardless
sex.
of sex. Okay. Regardless of sex. And is this, do you consider this to be a proprietary definition or a historically apt definition?
I'm just providing the definition. If you disagree with the definition, then we can go back and forth and determine which definition we feel is best, or the audience can decide which definition they feel is a better definition
Yeah,
of
I
feminism.
understand that we can decide that which definition we want to do. I'm asking another question, though.
Okay.
It's not a trick question.
Okay.
Is the definition, do you consider this to be proprietary, meaning this is what Oliver believes feminism is, or do you think that this is a historically accurate definition?
I think it's a combination of both. So I think, yes, it's the definition that I'm putting forward. It's
And
rooted
what historical,
historical.
if you're looking at it from a historical standpoint, what would be the kind of like idea that you would draw this from for what feminism is?
Various feminist thinkers who proposed definitions of this nature. Betty Friedan is one of them, who wrote a book called The Feminine Mystique.
Okay.
We can talk about various other individuals who contributed to that. Sally Haslinger put forward definitions that are very similar to this, but that's kind of what I would say is there. So it's kind of a combination of both.
Okay, got you. And then you utilize utilitarianism for good?
That's not the position that I'm defending here. So no, I'm not defending what good is in this debate. These are conditional statements in that, for example, greater economic output is a good thing. If greater economic output is a good thing, then feminism helps achieve that goal. I'm not ultimately defending what essentially good is. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of
I'm not
what makes
looking
something
for
good.
a moral debate saying what is
Okay.
good and bad. I'm just looking for the viewpoint that you. So, if you're saying that these are conditionals for what is good or what is
Yes.
bad, what would make them conditional for what is good and bad? Just somebody else believed that conditionally they were good and bad?
If someone disagrees that, for example, greater economic output is a good thing, or that stronger and healthier families are a good thing, if they disagree and think that those are not necessarily good things, then so this is conditional on if stronger families and healthier families are good things.
Do you believe they're good
then-
things?
Yes, I do believe they're good things.
Okay, so how do you make those ascertain? How do you ascertain that? Through utilitarianism?
No, not necessarily through utilitarianism.
Okay.
I'm appealing to generally commonly held beliefs that I think most people are sympathetic to, and I'm moving just from that. Shared premises, hopefully.
So general beliefs. Mm-hmm. So, like shared intuitions?
Sure, we can go off that. Just I think a majority of people I mean, I don't know, we can ask the audience, think that stronger families is a good thing, healthier families is a good thing, reducing childhood poverty and things like that are good things. So that's kind of what I'm basing it off of.
So shared intuitions.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And that's what you're basically, when you're saying good and bad, you're saying based around, just make sure I got it clear, based around the shared intuitions of me and most people. I think most people would agree that these things are good.
Sure, for the purposes of this debate, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not claiming that whatever the consensus believes is automatically therefore correct. I'm just claiming for this debate, I'm appealing to these shared premises and intuitions that I think most people will hold.
Most people believe this. Okay. All right. And then I think there was one more thing. When you say conditional,
Yeah.
so you're saying the conditional belief, I just want to make sure I got this right. This is based around the condition that people agree with you.
Agree that things such as stronger families are good, that healthier families are good.
Which are things you believe.
Yeah, which are
So
things I
it'd be
believe.
so it's people who agree with you.
Yes.
So then conditional here means people who agree with me.
The belief is conditional on if you believe that stronger families is a good thing, or if you believe that healthier families is a good thing.
Which you
then-
believe.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why it's conditional. If you don't believe those are good things, then of course my argument's not going to follow because you haven't
Gotcha.
accepted the first part of it. So if people want to disagree with that, that's fine. I'm not going to go into detail to justify why strong families or healthy families or greater economic output is a good thing.
Okay. I'm actually fine. So let's start with if you want to build your pro-feminist case, let's do it.
Sure. So I mean, I kind of did it a little bit here.
Well,
Talked
let's
about.
go, if you don't mind, let's
Yeah.
go a point at a time.
Okay, sure. So as I talked about a little bit regarding stronger families, this idea that stronger families, in a way,